Okay. Welcome if you're here. Hello, hello. I'm going to just put in the chat. Feel free to say hi, your name, maybe the company you're with. Hello, welcome. If anyone is in the Southeast Wisconsin area, we're having really beautiful weather today. At least the sun's out. I haven't stepped outside, so I
It's
don't
very
know.
cold though.
Ooh,
Yeah.
shoot. It
It's like
looks nice.
frigid. I know, it's misleading.
It is misleading. And it's spring break season, and I feel like everyone's going to warm
33 degrees.
places and coming back. Hi, Morgan. Welcome. Thank you for joining. All right.
Hi, Zach.
Hey, Zach. So I'll kind of set the stage for our workshop this morning. So this is actually a part 2 to a workshop that Andrea and I hosted. Let's see, I think it was November of last year. Yes. And that workshop was basically around how to use digital tools to start your customer and audience competitor research. And I'll explain in a little bit kind of like why that's been a hot topic for us right now. So there was that presentation about kind of the market research side of things. And then in this presentation, what we want to walk through is how to actually use that research and that data to set goals for your digital marketing strategy, how to kind of build your roadmap, how to implement and sort of adjust based on the results that you're seeing. So essentially, the title is Manufacturing Marketing Growth with Digital, a roadmap to building your digital strategy. So as we go through the presentation, as if you're not new here, please feel free to use the chat and ask any questions along the way. We'll try to answer them throughout. But anything we can't get to, there is a Q&A towards the end. So you can, again, ask questions and we'll get to them for sure. Mm-hmm. So with that, I will jump in to our agenda for the presentation. So first and foremost, I'm Ann Cotter, Director of Sales and Marketing at Top Floor, if you don't know me. And then, of course, Andrea Yank is here. If you want to introduce yourself, Andrea.
Sure. I'm the Director of Marketing Services. I've been with Top Floor almost 5 years now. 5 years? Yeah. So, yeah, excited to be here.
Yes. Thanks for joining.
Sure.
So we're going to start off by just kind of recapping that previous workshop because it was several months ago at this point. So we'll just briefly walk through kind of how to do some audience and competitor research. Specifically with digital tools, we'll touch on some other things like traditional methods of doing that research too, just to kind of catch you up to speed if you haven't seen that workshop. And then we'll start with setting campaign goals. So how to kind of actually use some of that audience and competitor research to set realistic campaign goals throughout different stages of the marketing funnel. Then Andrea will talk more about how to leverage the right channels, again, throughout the funnel, what channels are most impactful at different stages of the channel of the funnel, and kind of how to leverage them. And then we'll talk about implementation and measurement. So how to actually execute on these things and then kind of what to look for as you're implementing. Do you hear a whistle, Andrea, or is that just me? Okay.
Maybe it's my background.
Okay. I was like, all right. Just making sure. So yes, we'll do implementation and measurement, and then we'll end things with the Q&A. We should go until about 10:45. I know the invite is for an hour. That's something we don't have control of with StreamYard, but just so you know, it is 45 minutes. But yes, thank you, Corinne, Natalie, Grant. Thank you for joining. And let's go ahead and get started. So this first slide, if you've followed along in other workshops or have gone to our last roundtable, probably won't be a surprise to you since we've been kind of leaning on this slide in a few of our events here at Top Floor. But this is from the Wisconsin Manufacturing Report from the 2023 report. And what they found is that finding new customers and markets pretty much remains at the top of the list for how manufacturing companies are finding their main source of growth. And as you can see, that's pretty consistent from 2021, 2022 to 2023. However, there was a significant jump from 58% in 2022 of respondents of the survey saying that this is a main source of growth, up to 63% in 2023. So we really wanted to talk specifically about how to use digital to, again, research those customers and markets, and then also how to use digital to tap into them, create the right content, deliver the right message, all of that good stuff. All right. So, like I said, I want to just kind of recap a little bit of what we've talked about so far in our previous workshop. So, first things first, market research. So, part one of this is looking at your audience. So, what are the key kind of questions you want to answer when you're doing audience research? Mainly, where is my audience spending the most time? Is it online? Is it offline? What are my audience's behaviors on and offline? And then, of course, what are my audience's pain points, whether those directly relate to your product or service or something else, just really identifying kind of their demographics, their behaviors, etc. And then we talked a little bit too about then how to do that research, how to answer those questions. So we leaned into AI a little bit, definitely as a jumping off point. I wouldn't say that this is a um, tried and true method of doing audience research. So definitely take it with a grain of salt. But you can certainly use AI tools like Gemini, ChatGPT to start that kind of preliminary research. So if you wanted to do an audience persona of, let's say, like a COO at a precision manufacturing company, you could put that into those tools and it would spit out a fairly comprehensive persona. But again, validate that with your own actual research that you do. And then, even though we are leaning more into how to do this research with digital and how to execute a digital marketing strategy, I don't want to overlook the value of traditional methods of doing audience research. So, surveys, much like the Wisconsin Manufacturing Report, can be super beneficial here. You can do your own polls, for example, using LinkedIn, looking at industry publications, and then also just doing desk research. So, asking people in your company, asking sales representatives, customer service, product development teams. Where are they seeing the market moving? What are they hearing from customers? That's kind of what the innovative features are of your product or service, to really kind of understand the landscape a little bit better. And then, of course, using digital tools to gather some of this research too. So don't overlook your first party data. So the tools that you have, such as Google Analytics, Google Ads if you're running ads, any user behavior tools if you're using things like Hotjar or heat maps to analyze how customers are looking at or using your website. Those can also be really valuable too. And just, again, understanding what's working now and what isn't working, what your customer might be resonating with, what they're not resonating with, using your actual digital data. And then third-party data tools. So your SEMrush or keyword research tools, social listening tools can be really helpful here too, to just understand what is your audience talking about, what do they care about, what are the hot topics right now. And then moving on to competitor research. So questions you kind of want to answer here is, of course, who's active in this market? And then what marketing channels are they using? What messaging is working for them? And key on what's working for them.
Yeah.
Just because they're using it doesn't mean it's working, which I'll get into too, of kind of how to recognize what's working well. And then how to understand who they are, the marketing channels they're using, and what messaging. Definitely look to their search marketing landscape. Are they showing up in search results? What keywords are they using? Are they putting money towards paid ads, whether that be LinkedIn, Google Ads, etc.? And typically, if you see that they have a pretty large search presence, they probably have a pretty large market share in real estate in that industry. Not always, but typically, if they're putting money there, then they're seeing results from it. And then the brand positioning too. So looking at their website, their social media presence, what are they saying are their value adds? What are they saying their value propositions are? And then looking at what, again, is actually resonating. So take a social post, for example. Are those posts actually getting real engagement? Are they getting comments, likes, shares? That might be a key indicator to you that this is something the market or the audience is interested in or wants to hear more about. And then again, you can use AI here too. I typically gravitate towards Gemini since it is, I don't know the right word, it can crawl, I guess, existing data, whereas ChatGPT is a few years old in terms of what data it can deliver. So you can put a website into Gemini, Google's AI chatbot, and it'll tell you what that website, what keywords it's using, topics, what are its value props, and kind of sift through that for you, essentially. So that's a good tool to use here too. All right. So again, I wanted to just kind of recap the research so that we can bridge that over to how you set goals, because a lot of that first party data and third party data is going to be very critical in setting realistic goals. But to start, I want to just talk through kind of how to set realistic goals at various stages of the funnel. So keep in mind, obviously, for many of us, the big picture goal is, of course, going to be revenue, sales, those high quality conversions. Of course, that's the end goal. But as you look through different stages of the funnel, you're going to have kind of micro goals, shall we say, that lead up to that bigger goal. So brand awareness, that's of course your increased brand visibility. Lead generation, capturing qualified leads. They might not be ready to buy yet, but they might be interested in you at this point. Of course, conversions, converting some of those leads into real customers. And then retention. So goals around here might be upselling or brand loyalty, different metrics, again, at different stages of the funnel. So since kind of the reason why we're talking about this is that finding new customers and market, Andrea and I are going to key in more so today on the brand awareness and lead generation stages of the funnel, because that's kind of where you're working right now. If that's something you're doing, is finding those new customers and markets. And keep in mind too, for many of us, the buying cycle is very long. So brand awareness that's successful today might have its payoff in a year. Who knows? Kind of depends on, again, your buying cycle. But that's where we're focusing today. All right, so setting goals 101. I'm sure this won't be too new to anyone, but just to set the stage here. So first of all, you want to figure out your what. So what is your desired outcome? Whether that be a specific number of leads, increased followers, website traffic, figuring out, again, kind of what quantifiable outcome you're looking for. And then how? That's essentially your strategy. What are you going to use or leverage to achieve those goals? Again, social media, email marketing, your website, search marketing, and then crafting the targeted messaging that's really going to resonate with that audience is a key part of this too. And Andrea will talk a little bit more about that in a bit here. And then finally, when is the timeline? When are you hoping to achieve these results? Of course, is very important as well. So sorry for the wordy slide here, but I wanted to talk through just a few examples of types of goals you might set at both the demand generation or brand awareness stage of the funnel, as well as the lead generation stage of the funnel. So I think brand awareness is oftentimes challenging to really measure and set a goal around, because it's can be really intangible. You don't know what's going to stick in someone's brain or not. But there are goals that you can set. So an example that we have here is I want to grow my LinkedIn following by, let's say, 25% in the precision manufacturing industry. So first start by, and this is going back to using your first party and third party data, looking at the channels that are going to help you achieve that goal. In this case, it's pretty obvious. LinkedIn is going to be your main channel for increasing LinkedIn page followers. And you could use that through both paid LinkedIn methods or organic LinkedIn methods. And then gathering the data from those channels. So look at your existing follower count. What does that look like? What does your current follower growth per month look like? How big is your target audience on LinkedIn? So you can use LinkedIn's ad tool to kind of look at specific demographics, job titles, industries, companies, all kinds of things to actually gauge how much of your audience is there. Again, to set realistic goals and you're not overshooting when the audience just isn't there. So using those channels, both your first party data, which you know about your current audience on that channel, and what the potential looks like is going to be really important when setting that realistic monthly target. Another example, so let's say you want to increase new user traffic to a specific industry page. Maybe it's a new application, new service or product that you're trying to promote. Channels you might use here might be search engine optimization or SEO. You might use display ads. And again, use those channels to figure out what does your current landscape look like? Do you have keyword rankings for that application or service already? Where are the gaps? Look at your competitors. What are they ranking for? Where might that potential be? Is there search volume around that specific application or service? You can also look at display audience size again to see how many people are searching for those things, what the impression share looks like. So again, just kind of using those tools to gather that data to set your target. Last example I have here is kind of a niche one, I guess, but let's say you want to generate 5 mentions of your brand by 5 industry influencers. So typically this kind of rings social media in most people's brain. And since we're B2B and talking manufacturing, LinkedIn's kind of the obvious channel here. So you could look at kind of what are your average monthly mentions right now? Maybe you're starting at 0. So that's important to note. Maybe you just want to start off with, I just want 1 per month or 2 per month.
Mhm.
And then of course too, look at how many industry influencers are there in this space. Maybe there's 50 really good ones, but there's 10 that you really want to kind of like open the door with and engage with in some way. So again, using that data, looking at the space, who's active in it to set those goals. I'll run through a couple of lead generation goals examples too. So looking again further down the funnel at, more qualified, I guess, interactions with your website or your brand. So I think one that's really important, I'm going to skip so I don't spend too much time on this, is I want to generate X number of leads from decision makers in, again, any industry that you're kind of trying to target. So again, looking at search marketing, how much search real estate do you have for that specific query? What are your keyword gaps? Again, this might be an area that you would use remarketing ads. So retargeting users who have been to some of those brand awareness pieces, whether it's a blog, piece of content, to try to move them further down the funnel. What does that audience size look like? Is there enough remarketing audience to kind of nurture them to that next stage of becoming a qualified lead? Another one we'll talk a little bit about too is increased lead conversion rate. So that might be a goal that you have too. The channel there is going to be more about your website and user experience. So that's not just about generating traffic, but generating qualified traffic and actually converting them. So looking at things like what is your existing conversion rate? Where are there opportunities to improve on your website UX? Where are people kind of falling off? Again, to use that data to then set that realistic target.
And with this one, I would even say like maintaining lead conversion rate. If you haven't been putting efforts into that demand gen portion before, if you increase your traffic by a ton suddenly, that conversion rate's going to drop if you're not, converting at the same rate. So even if that is your goal here, maintaining that lead conversion rate, that's still a good goal to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Or I've even seen like where, maybe you're steadily seeing a decline in organic traffic and maybe the goal is instead of decreasing by 50%, I want to decrease by 10%, like again, but just being realistic of what's possible. So,
yeah.
These are just a few kind of screen grabs of where you can gather this data. Might not be new to many of you, but like I mentioned, LinkedIn display ads can be a great way to see what the audience size looks like. This example is for industries, electronic and precision equipment maintenance, job functions, business development. I think I chose the full United States for this. And the forecasted audience is 14,000 people on LinkedIn. So don't set a goal of wanting to uh, gain 15,000 new followers on LinkedIn in this industry because it would be tricky to do and they're not there.
Yeah. Or even that 14,000 is probably
Or even
tricky
that
to do.
14,000. Like
They're not all
5%
logging in
of that.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not all checking
exactly.
LinkedIn tomorrow. So be
Mhm.
realistic there.
Yep. And then again, you can look at your existing data. So follower demographics. LinkedIn gives you an industry breakdown of what your follower makeup looks like. And it's not just industry. You can look at company, you can look at age, all kinds of kind of demographics there. So again, say construction is an industry you're trying to target. In this example, there's 341 followers in that industry. So you can use that as a benchmark. Maybe you want
Mhm.
to reach 400, 450. Again, just kind of having that realistic goal set.
Yeah. General geography is one too, if you're thinking about
Yeah.
growing in a specific geo target.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Um, GA4, I don't think I need to stress this too much, but definitely look at, if you're trying to get new users, what do those sessions look like? If it's for a specific page, what are you seeing on average per month? Again, to set that goal. Google Ads, very similar to LinkedIn. You can put in a variety of inputs to see what the audience there, whether it be keywords they're interested in, uh, maybe publications or websites that they're viewing, and it'll give
Mhm.
you that audience size. All right, I'm going to hand things over to you, Andrea, to talk a little bit more about how to leverage channels throughout the funnel.
All right. So we'll start with the demand gen. So again, your goal here is brand awareness, feeding the funnel, right? So step one for leveraging your channels is key messaging and content. You need to know what you're going to talk about and how you're going to talk about it before you look at even the channels, because you'll want to utilize that content across multiple channels if you can. So some options for ideation here. What do you want your audience to know about you at first glance? Again, this is brand awareness, so they don't know nothing about you right now. What you obviously want to highlight what you do, products you offer, any kind of competitive value propositions or demonstrated knowledge. And what I mean here is if you guys want to show that you're the expert on a particular product or service, there's got to be topics around that people might be searching and researching at that very top, a level of the funnel that you want to demonstrate that something on, and then
Mhm.
you become a knowledgeable source and they'll come back to you later in the funnel, right?
Mhm.
And here really you want to look at more of a soft call to action or even none. Again, you're just getting your brand out there, you're getting them familiar with your name, with your maybe brand guidelines, like your
Mhm.
actual like presence there. And then use your research from your target audience research. So what is your audience actually researching? You probably already know that answer if you've done your audience research. And what can you offer your expertise on? Again, back to that
Mhm.
demonstrated knowledge. And the
Mhm.
content types that we see in this stage are really those blog articles. So again, articles around topics that people are researching at very high level. LinkedIn articles, if you don't have a blog on your website, you can there's a function to do actual like blog articles on LinkedIn and host them there. And then any downloads that you want to offer at this point, I would definitely make them ungated at this point of the funnel, just because again, they don't know you. It's probably not going to be something that they're willing to give up their information just yet on. So make those ungated at this point. And then video, obviously video content is more personable. They get to see a personality behind company, the nameless faceless company. So videos are always great as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is a really good stage to set up that remarketing audience because, like you said,
Yes.
Andrea, you might not have a call to action at this stage because
Mhm.
really at this stage, you're just proving yourself as a thought leader, as able to address questions without necessarily kind of forcing your brand down someone's throat and trying to make them move into that stage. You're just answering questions, you're just being a thought leader. And this is that stage where you can set up that remarketing audience. And if they, have come to your website, you can retarget them with ads later on, again, nurturing them through that.
Yeah. And I think you'll talk about this probably in the measurement, but at this point, you're looking at impressions, reach, maybe
Hmm.
engagement. But you know what I mean? Like those
Right.
really softer, just like getting it out there, getting your message out there kind of
Hmm.
metrics or KPIs.
Yep.
So diving into the channels and just a reminder of the content types I put at the top here, blog articles, LinkedIn articles, downloads, ungated, and video. Now it's time to utilize those channels. So starting with SEO, keyword research. Make sure your article has relevant keywords based on your research. Obviously, that relates back to blog articles or LinkedIn articles. And then format for the search engine results page. So make it easier for Google to serve it in search. So if you're doing blog articles, make sure you have some schema that identifies that page as a blog article. That should help you out. Obviously, there's ways to, if you're familiar with snippets in Google search results, there's ways that you can format your article that will be more likely to be picked up as a snippet. So think about what you're identifying as your H1 and H2s, what your bullet points are. If you have bullet points, maybe putting the summary at the top, that might be get pulled into the search. There's a whole mess of information on that. I could spend all day, but I won't. And then in organic LinkedIn, so really looking at posts from your company page and your thought leaders. Do post with your company page and thought leaders with additional insights or highlights from the article. So you're talking about your article, but you're not just like, hey, check out this article, right? You're pulling something out of that article to like entice them to click through on it. And then test putting your blog content into a downloadable document. And again, ungated at this point. So you could teasing the blog content a little bit, but then having them download it right there on LinkedIn. Then they don't have to go to your website. It's a little less commit, like for those that have a fear of commitment. I don't want to go to somebody else's website. I want to stay on LinkedIn. Great. Here's the download right there. And that's optional. Address your message to your intended target. So, hey, manufacturing operations managers, here are 5 things to look for in your next MES platform, right? Like you're talking to them directly, it's going to get their attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then use hashtags. Please make sure you use hashtags
Yeah.
and relevant to your industry, or the industry that you're targeting, I should say, and relevant to your product or what you're offering. So do a little research. Look at your competitors. What are they using?
Mm-hmm.
On the paid side of LinkedIn, you can target exactly who you want to see with this information. So industry, job titles, company lists. So that's really helpful on the paid side. Turn your thought leadership posts into sponsored posts. So if you have thought leaders at your company that are working at this point of the funnel and trying to show their expertise and knowledge in the industry, you can actually sponsor that post from your thought leader, and then be able to target exactly who you want with it. Then it's super genuine, right? Because it's authentically from that person, but you're able to put money behind it to target exactly who you want to see it. So that's going to gain their following, but in turn really help your brand as well. Then create really eye-catching sponsored posts that highlight your company, product, service for this market with no call to action. And people probably cringe at this, but honestly, it's going to help you out. So just make it eye-catching, make it I wouldn't want to say flashy, but something that is going to gain their attention so that at least you're getting in front of them with your brand colors, with your logo. You're getting them familiar so that when you talk to them at the lead gen point, they already know you. And again, use hashtags for your industry within these as well, because that can help. But then use video and then free ungated downloads or link to your blog content, really. So that's diversifying your creative and offering at this point. And then last but not least, Google Display Network. Here you can target similar audiences to your website conversions. And you might be thinking, like, if you're familiar with Google Ads, like, oh, there's no similar audiences anymore. There is actually. So what they've done is within Performance Max campaigns, you can use audience signals, right? So that's basically like you're setting up a audience from GA4 probably that is collecting those that actually converted on your website, and you use that as a signal. And then in the Performance Max campaign, Google can then use that to find people who are like your converters. So that's still a way to get to that similar audience. You can also target prospective audiences that have visited other specific sites, again, like publication sites or that are relevant to your target industry, or if they search specific keywords in the past as well. So, and then moving on to the lead generation piece of the funnel. Here your goal changes, right? So you're offering value, you're capturing information. That's really the goal here. Again, step one is still make sure you have key messaging and content in place, and think about what you've already served them with at the demand gen side. Yes, people can enter funnels at any point, but if this is truly trying to work them down the funnel, think about what might come next to that initial contact point at the demand gen piece. So some ideation for this, what value can you offer at this step of the funnel? Definitely think about specifically what they might be looking for here. And then gate that high value content. Here's where you can start gating your content. Offer up content that showcases your value for free though. So if you have content that is definitely like knowledge based, don't gate that. That's, you're trying to, again, get your name out there. But if you have high value content, things that are insights from you guys that they can't get anywhere else, definitely gate that so that you can start nurturing that lead. And then ask for the conversion at this point, whatever that might be. Is it, contact us, request a quote? It could even be at this point, learn more, depending on what kind of content you're serving, but ask for the conversion. And then additional research here. So what do they already know about you and your products at this point? And there's some assumptions that have to be made here, but definitely food for thought. And then what information are they searching for at this point? And give you a ton of good information, good sources for that information. So I won't go into that here. But the content types that serve as really good pieces of content for this particular piece of the funnel is really ebooks, white papers, case studies, free estimates, obviously, but really highlighting what kind of value you can give them with that free estimate. But yeah, this is where they're starting to do research. So it's definitely value. These content types are definitely a higher value. And then actually using them in the channels. So on the SEO side, again, keywords, make sure that your website content has the right keywords to show up, obviously. And I'm going to bring up schema again, add schema where it makes sense to. On the paid search side, target mid-funnel searches, such as specific products that they might be searching for. Applications related to that product. So this product for this industry, they may actually be typing that in. And then any features. So if there's a specific feature of your product that you can offer that somebody might be searching for, make sure you're targeting that here. Offer content on landing pages that aligns with their journey. So obviously like the case studies and white papers at this point. depending on what they're searching. And then align your call to action with what they are searching. So free estimates if they're searching price or cost terms, for example. And then on your website side, so UX, make landing pages where they make sense to. If you feel like they might get lost coming into another page, or you don't feel like the call to action is as highly, highlighted on this on your product pages as it needs to be right now, instead of changing the whole site, just do a landing page if you need to. See how that tests, right, before you go ahead and make changes. Also look at user journeys. So you can use tools like Inspectlet or Hotjar, where you can actually follow people through their journey. Make sure that your navigation is intuitive, for sure. Analyze your conversion path to identify that you make it easy to convert wherever they want to. So again, you can test with the landing pages if you want to, if you have a inclination of like, I don't feel like the call to action is prevalent on here or enough, right? Or I'm not sure that our navigation is intuitive. Try landing pages and see if those comparatively convert better and what kind of changes you can then roll out to the rest of the site. On the remarketing side of things, so again, this can all be remarketing, but specifically display and paid LinkedIn audiences, target those you targeted in your demand generation step after they have either engaged with some of your content or they've been served enough impressions. So obviously, some of the softer call to action or no call to action content in your demand gen step may not have an engagement, but if they've been served enough impressions, they should still count towards that audience you want to continue to push down the funnel, right? And then align your message to their next step based on what your demand generation message was. And I mentioned that at the beginning, but keep it in mind at this point, obviously. And then just overall, just offer content that makes sense for each of these efforts. It might be different for, your website versus paid search versus remarketing. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point that sometimes the messaging has to be almost like channel dependent a little bit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. We are going to kind of last section we'll end on is measurement and strategy adaptation. So with the time we have left, I'm going to run through an example of demand gen, of kind of going back to one of those sample goals that we talked through, what you might look through as you're executing, and then same with lead generation, what you might look through as you're executing that. So one of the demand generation goals, and again, this is just an example, there might be plenty of other goals you set around here, but one might be growing your LinkedIn following. So that's kind of the ultimate thing that you're trying to achieve. But as you're hopefully moving towards that metric, what can you look towards to see, is this working or not? Am I moving in the right direction, even if I haven't quite reached that goal? So some of the KPIs or key performance indicators you might look at: engagement rate. So are people at least liking, commenting, sharing? Are they resonating with the posts, and who is resonating? Is it just your employees or current customers, or is it actually reaching that target audience that you're looking for? And then with that information, determining what are the next steps that are most appropriate. So maybe you find that there's specific content that's really resonating, that you're getting a lot of interaction from. Are you involving those thought leaders in your company to also share those posts or add their own take to those popular posts or popular topics? Another kind of follow-up you might do if things are going well or you're seeing a lot of posts resonating, you could promote those posts, put some money behind them, and hopefully receive more engagement from that target audience that isn't following you yet. Mm-hmm. And then also look too, is there an opportunity to develop a larger piece of content? So again, you can kind of use social in this example as sort of like a testing ground. So putting out, you're not trying to get that user onto your website just yet. You might just be trying to engage with them right on LinkedIn on that platform. But as you see engagement, you might think, oh, like this would be a really great blog or ebook, or I could expand on this to kind of build that traffic into that lead generation phase, kind of getting them further, deeper in the funnel. You also might not see, maybe things aren't going well. Maybe like you're putting out this content and you're hoping it resonates and you're just not getting the engagement rate that you want. You might have to go back to the messaging then or the content. Maybe it's just not resonating. So you might have to go again back to the research stage, look at what your audience is, relevant to them. What are your competitors doing? So you might have to tweak that a little bit too. So just kind of different examples of how to use those KPIs to dictate what next steps or what strategy then going forward makes the most sense. I'll run through this demand generation goal too. So the other one we talked about is increasing new user traffic. So KPIs here, what you might look for to see if you're moving the needle, so to speak, is where is that new user traffic coming from? Is it coming from organic search, social media? And then what are the keywords or what are the posts that are actually getting them to your website to, again, tie that back to what content is, most enticing to them. And then once they get there, are they staying? Are they clicking around? Even if they don't go to another page, are they at least maybe staying a couple of minutes on that page to read through the content that you've provided? Or are they staying for 1 minute or not even 1 minute, 1 second and bouncing? And then you might need to look at, in that case, your audience targeting. Maybe it's not the right audience, or maybe your placements are off. Maybe you're putting ads on mobile apps or games and you need to, get rid of that because then you get those Butterfinger clicks onto your website. And then if you're running ads here, like what has the strongest click-through rates? What's resonating the most? And then what actions, if any, are they taking on the website? Those are all important performance indicators that can help you understand, is this new user traffic that you're generating quality? Is it who you want to be? Are they spending time there? And then the next steps that you can do with that is, can you build these new users into that remarketing list? Are they qualified where you'd want to build that kind of next step? And then again, looking at how they got there, are there any changes that you need to make the content resonate more? Maybe you're seeing a lot of traffic coming from LinkedIn, but that traffic is bouncing right away. So maybe that post or whatever you're putting on LinkedIn isn't aligning then with what they're getting on the website. So again, aligning channel with what they're doing on the website and the messaging all together. Okay, last example of lead generation. Example goal here that we talked about is increasing lead conversion rate. So KPIs here might be, is traffic increasing or decreasing? What does it look like overall? What channels are your best leads coming from? And where do users drop off? So based on those kind of KPIs, you can then do identify opportunities for any kind of content or functionality improvement. So if you're seeing that users are dropping off or they're not taking that next step that you're trying to generate, you're trying to get that contact information at this stage, where are they dropping off, or what seems to be a bottleneck or a hang up where they're stopping and not taking that interaction. And then also here, bolster the channels that seem to be working best at bringing in those quality leads. Maybe you're finding that SEO is working really, really well, but your paid channels are just not bringing in the right traffic. Put more emphasis towards SEO then, or vice versa. If you're seeing that, paid is really bringing in or a specific campaign in paid is bringing in really quality leads, shift your budget around. If that's what's working, bolster those channels. All right. So really quickly, I'll run through some key takeaways. As I do, feel free to drop questions in the chat. We might go a couple minutes over, but I do want to answer any questions that anybody has. But key takeaways here: use your first and third party data, so your own Google Analytics and your own digital tools, to set realistic goals. Really key in on your content and messaging. This is so important and goes back to the audience and competitor research. Figure out what content, assets, value propositions that you need to create before executing, and make sure that that's really agreed upon to inside your marketing and sales team, or even inside your company. And then measure and modify. Look at kind of those micro metrics, if you will, those KPIs routinely, and identify any areas of improvement and opportunities. So I'll leave this slide up for a minute here. Just a few of our upcoming events. We have a virtual workshop on mastering e-commerce readiness in April. Actually, our whole Q2 is really focused on e-commerce. So if that's something that you're considering, definitely tune into some of our events. We'll also have a roundtable in May, unlocking new opportunities through e-commerce. That's in person. And then in June, we'll have another virtual workshop on strategic e-commerce essentials and marketing basics. All right. Sorry, we went a little bit over. I can stay for a couple questions if you can, Andrea. Yeah, I don't see, nothing's come in yet, but we'll give it a little bit.
We were just too thorough.
We went too deep. I'm glad all of my coughing fits, I was not talking and you were, and I could mute myself.
Yeah.
It's that spring cold, I don't know, or it's like spring break travel bug. Thanks, Corinne. I'll give it like 30 more seconds. Give it to 46:30 and see if anyone has any questions. So type fast if there's something you want to say.
No pressure.
No pressure. Or just type, wait. All right. Well, we haven't seen anything come through, but if you do have follow-up questions, you hopefully know where to find us or where to reach us. I believe we'll also be sending this presentation. I think you'll automatically get a recording when this stream ends. So you're welcome to share it with anyone in your organization or revisit any sections. But yeah,
if they wanted to find the first presentation, the target audience.
You can find that on our website. It is under resources and videos. And then if you scroll down, you should see our on-demand workshop from, let me just double check that it was actually November. I think it was in November, but it's on-demand workshop, manufacturing market growth with digital in 2024. And Martha has noted she will also include a direct link to the first presentation in the follow-up. So, all right. Thanks, Andrea.
Thanks.
Yeah. And thanks everyone for being here. Have a great rest of your Thursday. All right. Bye.